You know how it is, right? That big burst of energy when you decide, okay, this time I'm going to learn guitar
Hmm?
or start that novel or finally get serious about working it.
Oh, yeah. You're all fired up, ready to go.
Exactly. And then, well, life happens. Maybe things get tough or you get tired or bored.
We're just busy. And that amazing project just fizzles out.
Sounds depressingly familiar, doesn't
That
it?
really does. It happens to pretty much everyone, I think. That gap between meaning to do something and actually doing it, it can feel huge.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're using Peter Hollins' book, Finish What You Start, The Art, as our guide.
Hmm.
It's all about, bridging that gap, getting past the starting point, and actually seeing things through to the end.
Breaking that cycle, right? The cycle of starting strong and then just abandoning things.
Yeah, breaking free from that frustration.
And the book really digs into the how to make those intentions real practical things, how to navigate the everyday stuff that trips us up.
Like being tired or getting bored or just having way too much on our plate.
Exactly. Those common hurdles.
Hollins actually starts with a great little story, something I think a lot of us can probably relate to.
Hmm.
He talks about trying to carve this small wooden canoe. Like not a huge project,
Yeah.
but for him it was new.
Okay.
And it just became this saga. He'd start, make a bit of progress, then, life would get in the way.
And the canoe just sits there.
Yeah. The unfinished canoe kind of staring back at him, a symbol of that struggle to just finish.
That's such a good visual, that unfinished thing nagging at the back of your mind.
Right. But here's the thing. He did eventually finish it.
Yeah.
The breakthrough came down to this idea he calls temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling. Okay, what's that?
Basically, he linked the carving, which was maybe a bit tedious for him, with something he really loved.
Which was?
Listening to his favorite albums. Like the whole album, beginning to end, no interruptions.
Huh. That's smart. Pairing the chore with a reward.
Exactly. So the work itself became linked to this immediate pleasure.
It's so simple, but kind of profound, isn't it?
It really makes you think, when was the last time you listening right now actually sat and listened to a whole album, start to finish? No skipping, no distraction.
Wow. Yeah, that's probably been a while for most people. It feels like a luxury now.
It really does. And for Hollins, that little realization, that power of pairing things, that was the spark. It led him to dig way deeper into the whole science of follow-through.
It shows how sometimes those personal aha moments can lead to really exploring something bigger, doesn't it? Examining our own habits.
Totally. So that's what we're aiming for in this deep dive. But we want to pull out those core ideas, the actionable stuff from Hollins' book.
Practical insights.
Yes, stuff that you can actually use to, get around your own resistance and finally nail those goals you care about.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right. So to really understand what makes follow-through work, Hollins uses this cool analogy right near the start.
Mm-hmm.
He compares it to building one of those giant robots,
Mm.
like Voltron or the Power Rangers Megazord.
Haha. Okay. I like that. Multiple parts coming together.
Exactly. You need all these different components working together perfectly. He breaks it down into 4 key elements.
4 main parts of the follow-through robot. Got it.
First up, you've got focus. And he calls this the head. Makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. The command center.
Focus keeps your head in the game. It directs all your energy towards that one specific goal, having that clear target.
Because without that clear direction, you're just spinning your wheels, aren't you? Lots of effort, maybe, but going nowhere specific.
Like spraying water everywhere instead of just on the plants.
Right. Focus is the head. Got to know where you're aiming.
And he uses this story about a woman named Esther from chapter 1. She had this dream, a really cool one, of starting her own baking business.
Okay. Sounds good.
But then she had some time off, a vacation, and she just got lost, completely swamped in research.
Research rabbit holes. We know those.
Totally. She wanted to know everything. Every recipe variation, all the financial stuff, market analysis, you name it.
So the initial goal, starting the business, kind of got buried under the preparation for the goal.
Exactly. Her focus shifted. It wasn't on doing the first steps anymore. It was stuck on gathering endless information.
Her head wasn't in the game of starting, just planning. So no real action during her time off.
None at all. Which brings us to the next part, self-discipline. Hollins calls this the spine of the robot.
The spine, okay, I see that. Support, structure.
Yeah, it's that ability to make yourself do the work when you need to, even when you really don't feel like it.
Regulating yourself, your thoughts, feelings, actions, keeping them aligned with the goal, even when it's hard.
Right. The spine holds you up, keeps you going straight. Self-discipline does the same for your goals.
It helps you resist those instant gratification urges, the distractions that pull you off course.
So going back to Esther, if she'd had a stronger spine, maybe she could have resisted just,
Wow.
yeah, sleeping in or spending all her free time hanging out, catching up with people, which is fine, obviously, but
And it completely took over the time she'd set aside for the business plan.
exactly, that balance was off.
Rest is important, no doubt, but when it always wins over productive action, progress just stops.
Okay, so we have the head, focus, and the spine, self-discipline. Next are the hands and feet, action.
Ah, right, where the movement happens.
This is where the rubber meets the road, like they say. It's about prioritizing, actually doing things, executing the plan.
Translating intentions into real-world movement.
Hollins really hammers this point. Without action, focus and discipline don't really matter. Plans stay ideas. Goals stay dreams.
Action is what makes it real. The physical, the mental effort that actually moves you forward.
And poor Esther, again, she had all these plans, all this research she intended to do.
But didn't actually do it.
Right. No steps taken. It was like she was paralyzed by how big it all seemed.
So her hands and feet never got moving on the tasks needed to start the baking business.
Not really. It shows how that lack of just starting, that initial action, can stop everything.
You can't even learn from mistakes if you don't make any moves,
Yeah,
right?
done point.
Yeah.
Okay, last part of the robot, persistence. This is the heart.
The heart, okay. Endurance, sticking with it.
Exactly. Sticking with something over the long haul, even when you hit roadblocks, setbacks, which you inevitably will.
Because most worthwhile things aren't easy or quick, are they? They take time, they take grit.
They're marathons, not sprints.
Yeah.
You need that heart to keep going when things get tough.
It's that resilience, isn't it? Bouncing back, continuing, even when you feel like quitting.
Definitely. Now, with Esther, Hollins points out something interesting. Persistence wasn't even really a factor for her yet,
Why not?
because she hadn't taken enough action to even get to the hard parts.
Ah, right. You can't persist through obstacles you haven't encountered because you haven't started moving.
Exactly. Persistence kicks in after you've started, after you've taken action, and when you start hitting those walls that test your commitment.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there's our super robot. Focus, head, self-discipline, spine, action, hands and feet, and persistence, heart, all working together.
A pretty good framework for thinking about what it takes.
But as we all know, just knowing this isn't enough, getting ourselves to actually do it consistently, that's the hard part.
Mm-hmm. The execution gap.
So Hollins looks at why we fail to follow through. He splits the reasons into two buckets: inhibiting tactics and psychological roadblocks.
Okay, tactics versus roadblocks, that's helpful. One is more about behaviors, the other more internal.
Pretty much. Inhibiting tactics are the things we kind of do or don't do that sabotage ourselves, sometimes without even realizing it.
Right. Like
First one, setting bad goals.
Yeah. Foundational stuff.
If your goal is super vague, like be healthier, like where do you even start with that?
Right. No clear path, no direction. It's like saying go north without a compass or a map. Leads to confusion, lost motivation.
Or setting goals that are just impossible, like that plant manager in the book trying to double output when the logistics just weren't there.
Yeah, that just sets you up for frustration, doesn't it? You try, you fail because it was impossible, and then you feel like giving up is justified.
It's almost like a subconscious excuse, maybe. Well, the goal was dumb anyway.
Could be. Then there's the big one, procrastination.
Oh, boy. Yeah, we've all been there.
That tendency to just put things off, usually for something easier or more fun right now.
And sometimes it's sneaky, right? That productive procrastination.
Tell me about that.
That's where you convince yourself you're being super busy and efficient,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing everything except the main thing you need to do.
Like organizing your desk for the 5th time instead of starting the report.
Exactly. Or like Esther, doing endless research instead of actually starting the business plan.
It feels like progress, but it's an illusion. It doesn't move the important goal forward.
And Hollins puts it bluntly, putting things off again and again
Yeah.
easily turns into just never doing it.
Later becomes never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next tactic. Temptations and distractions.
Yeah.
I mean, in today's world, forget about it.
They're everywhere, aren't they? Phones buzzing, notifications popping up, endless entertainment just a click away.
It's constant. It just hijacks your focus, makes it so hard to concentrate on anything that needs real mental effort.
Like that marketing officer example, getting lost down social media rabbit holes instead of working. Our attention is always under siege.
It really is. like trying to read a book while someone's flicking the lights on and off. But he does offer ways to manage them.
Okay, good. What are they?
Two main ways. Strategic avoidance, like actually scheduling time for social media and logging out otherwise.
Setting boundaries. Makes sense.
And the other is healthy, moderate use, like rewarding yourself with a short break after you've done some focused work.
So being intentional about it, not letting the distractions run the show, creating rules.
Right. And the last inhibiting tactic is poor time management.
That feeling of not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, but Hollins argues it's often not a lack of time, but more an inability to use the time we have effectively.
So it's about planning, organizing, focusing, having the discipline to stick to the plan.
Exactly. It's a whole package deal, making conscious choices about where your time goes.
And it's a fair question he raises, isn't it? If we can't even manage our time for daily stuff, how are we possibly going to find the time and focus for those big life goals?
Yeah, it really makes you think. It's all connected.
Uh,
Okay, so those are the tactics. Let's shift to the internal stuff, the psychological roadblocks.
okay, the mental barriers, often subconscious, right?
Yeah, the things going on inside our heads that stop us even if we have a good plan. First one is pretty straightforward. Laziness and lack of discipline.
Sometimes it really is just that simple, isn't it?
Seems like it. Laziness stops you from starting. Lack of discipline stops you from continuing when it gets hard.
And Hollins makes that distinction between willpower, the initial spark to start, and discipline, the ongoing effort to keep going.
Right, you need both, but discipline is what carries you through the long haul.
Without that internal drive, that ability to direct yourself, even the best plans fall apart.
Then there's a really big one. Fear of judgment, rejection, and failure.
Oof. Yeah, that can be absolutely paralyzing.
Worrying about what other people will think, or just not meeting your own standard.
This stops people from even putting their ideas out there, doesn't it?
Totally. Like Laura in the book, The Volunteer, with a great fundraising idea.
Mm-hmm.
She knows it's good, she knows what to do, but she's just terrified of being criticized or rejected. So she does nothing.
That's so common. The fear makes you play it safe, avoid the risk, even if it means missing out on something great.
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, next roadblock. Perfectionism out of insecurity.
This isn't just wanting to do good work, is it? It's deeper.
Yeah, it's rooted in that fear of not being good enough, fundamentally.
So you end up endlessly tweaking, polishing.
Or just never finishing,
Yeah.
because it's never perfect. You're too scared to let it go if it's not flawless.
That feeling of it's not quite ready yet just goes on forever. It's a self-defeating trap.
Totally. And the last psychological roadblock is a lack of self-awareness.
Not really understanding ourselves, our habits, our patterns.
Exactly. Not knowing why we keep failing to follow through. We might feel super busy, always rushing around.
But not making progress on what actually matters.
Right. Because we haven't stopped to figure out the real reasons we're stuck. What's actually holding us back.
It's like treating symptoms without diagnosing the disease. You might try to manage your time better, but if the root cause is, say, fear of failure, time management techniques alone won't fix it.
Good point.
Huh.
So just becoming aware of these tactics and roadblocks, that's a huge first step.
Absolutely. Understanding the what and why behind not finishing.
Okay, so once we kind of get a handle on what's stopping us, the next big question is, how do we actually stay motivated? Especially when things get tough or boring.
Right, because that initial passion, that excitement, it usually doesn't last, does it?
Not on its own, no.
Yeah.
Chapter 2 digs into this. Hollins says that initial buzz is great, but it's rarely enough fuel for the whole journey.
It fades, novelty wears off, challenges pop up. You need something more solid to keep you going.
He uses the example of Sally, who started a foundation. Great idea, passionate goal, helping people.
Sounds noble.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it ultimately failed. Why? Because she kind of ignored the less exciting parts, like constantly needing to find funding.
The negative aspects,
Yeah.
as he calls them. The necessary, but maybe not so fun stuff.
Exactly. And she didn't have a really deep, true source of motivation beyond that initial idealism to push through those difficulties.
It's a good reminder, isn't it? You need a balanced view. Plan for the grunt work and have a strong why that goes deeper than just feeling good at the start.
For sure. So Hollins talks about two kinds of motivators,
Mm,
external and internal.
okay. Outside versus inside.
External ones come from outside you, like trying to avoid getting in trouble or promising yourself a reward, self-bribery, basically.
Or having an accountability partner, someone else you don't want to let down.
Right. And those can definitely work, especially in the short term. Fear of consequences can be a strong push.
But he adds a warning there, doesn't he?
He does. relying only on avoiding bad stuff. That motivation can weaken if the consequence doesn't seem that bad anymore, or if it feels really far away.
Yeah. If the stick isn't sharp enough, you might just get used to not doing the thing.
Which is why internal motivators are often way more powerful and lasting.
Coming from within. Your values, your real desires, your why.
Exactly. Hollins says, ask yourself, what am I really getting out of this? How will my life actually be better if I do this?
Tapping into those core needs and wants. When a goal truly aligns with who you are and what you value, the drive is much stronger, much more resilient.
And he stresses reviewing those reasons regularly. Keep them fresh in your mind.
Absolutely key. Don't just figure out your why once and forget it.
He also talks about opportunity cost, which is basically,
Sacrifice.
what you have to give up to pursue this goal. Time, money, other fun activities.
Recognizing that trade-off is crucial for motivation. Because if the cost feels too high compared to the benefit,
Your motivation drops naturally. So Hollins says you can either boost your motivation, make the why so strong that the sacrifice feels worth it.
or find ways to make the sacrifice smaller, less painful. Like that Friday night class example. Find a compromise.
Yeah, make the cost-benefit analysis work in your favor. Find a sustainable way forward.
So you don't feel like you're constantly giving up too much.
And the last piece on motivation is simple, but easy to forget. Keep it on your mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. Classic.
Totally. Use visual cues, reminders in your environment. Keep your goals visible.
Like that study he mentioned with the elephant statue and the Toy Story alien.
Yeah. Weird, memorable things grab your attention, remind you of your goal.
So using sensory cues, putting up reminders, maybe even changing them sometimes so you don't get used to them.
All surprisingly useful tricks to keep that motivation simmering. Okay, moving on to chapter 3. This is about creating a personal manifesto.
A manifesto. Sounds serious.
Yeah, but it's not like a political declaration. It's more like a set of personal rules.
Rules. To do what?
To reduce how much you have to rely on willpower. Because willpower is fickle, right? It comes and goes.
It gets tired.
So the idea is, if you set clear rules for yourself, some decisions become automatic. You don't have to decide every time whether to do the hard thing. The rule decides for you.
Ah, okay. Automating good behavior. Like John, the writer example. He struggled until he made a rule, write every day, period.
Exactly. The rule creates structure, accountability, makes progress less dependent on how you feel that day.
Okay, so what kind of rules does he suggest?
He lays out 6. Rule 1, evaluate yourself. Ask. Honestly, if it wasn't for laziness or fear, would I really be giving up right now?
Ooh, tough love question. Cuts through the excuses.
Pretty much. Forces you to be honest about the real reason you want to quit.
Okay, rule 2?
3 tasks maximum. Focus on just 3 important tasks each day.
Prevents overwhelm, forces prioritization.
Right. And he stresses knowing the difference between important and just urgent, and between real action versus just being busy.
Focusing limited energy where it counts most. Makes sense.
Rule 3, create limitations and requirements. Set daily can't-dos and must-dos.
Like, I can't watch TV until work is done, and I must read for 30 minutes.
Exactly. Things you'll avoid, things you'll commit to. Self-imposed boundaries to build discipline.
Okay, rule 4?
Reaffirm your intentions. Use I want, I will, and I won't. Statements about your goal. Say them regularly.
Like, I want to earn more money. I will apply for 3 jobs this week. I won't waste time on pointless websites.
Precisely. Repeating your intentions strengthens commitment, keeps you aligned.
The power of repetition. Got it. Rule 5.
This one's cool. Think in terms of 10, 10, 10.
10, 10, 10? What's that?
When you're tempted to do something off track, ask, how will I feel about this choice in 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days?
Huh. Thinking about future consequences bridges that gap between now and later.
Yeah, forces you to be honest about the long-term impact of short-term decisions.
I like that. Okay, and rule 6.
Just 10 minutes. If you want something negative, like quitting or indulging, wait 10 minutes first. And if you want to quit something beneficial, like working out, push yourself to continue for just 10 more minutes.
Creates a pause, lets the initial impulse pass maybe, or gives you a small win to keep going.
Exactly. It helps manage those immediate urges, build self-control.
So this whole manifesto idea, it's about creating guardrails for yourself, isn't it? Making good choices easier, less effortful.
Totally. Less reliance on that in-the-moment willpower struggle.
Yep.
Okay, chapter 4 moves from external rules to our internal state, follow-through mindsets.
Mindsets, our fundamental way of thinking about things.
Yeah, and Hollins argues that follow-through is basically 100% mental. Our mindset is critical.
Makes sense. How we approach challenges, our beliefs about ourselves, that shapes everything.
He highlights 4 key mindsets. First, believe it's all worthwhile.
Meaning,
Deep down, believe your efforts will lead somewhere good, that you are capable, and the work itself has value.
so conviction, believing in the goal and in yourself, self-efficacy.
Right. If you don't believe it's worthwhile or that you can do it, why would you stick with it when it gets tough?
You wouldn't. Okay, second mindset.
Develop comfort with discomfort.
Ooh, okay. Embrace the suck, basically.
Yeah, kinda. Recognize that growth requires stepping outside your comfort zone. Learn to lean into that uncomfortable feeling instead of running from it.
Because progress rarely happens where you're already comfortable. You have to stretch, take risks. It feels awkward, maybe even scary.
But that's where the magic happens, right?
Often, yeah. Third mindset.
Allow learning. View the whole process, including setbacks, as a learning opportunity.
So failure isn't the end, it's just data.
Exactly. Giving up is failure. But finishing, even imperfectly, teaches you something valuable.
Bruh.
Always ask, what can I learn here?
That reframes everything, doesn't it? Turns obstacles into feedback, encourages resilience.
Definitely. And the last mindset, de-stress.
Manage your stress levels.
Yeah. Understand that chronic stress drains your mental energy, especially willpower. So build stress-reducing habits into your life.
Like hobbies, exercise, socializing, relaxation, whatever works for you.
Right. And he mentions projection bias here too, how feeling stressed now can make you wrongly assume you'll always feel unmotivated in the future.
Interesting. So stress makes it harder to follow through, and it makes you pessimistic about your future ability to follow through. Double whammy.
Pretty much. So managing stress isn't a luxury, it's essential for follow-through.
So cultivating these mindsets, believing it's worthwhile, embracing discomfort, learning from everything, and managing stress strengthens your mental game significantly.
Makes you much more resilient.
Oh.
Okay, let's get super practical. Chapter 5, The Science of Smashing Procrastination.
The beast itself, procrastination.
Hollins calls it the Sisyphus problem, always pushing that stone uphill. He links it to time inconsistency.
Time inconsistency, explain that.
It's that conflict. Your present self wants immediate rewards now, while your future self wants the long-term benefits later. And guess who usually wins?
Present self. Give me the cookie now. Future me can deal with the diet later.
Exactly. My brain today wants the dopamine hit from scrolling, not the satisfaction later from finishing the project.
That internal battle is so real.
Which brings us back again to temptation bundling.
Yeah.
Such a key strategy for this.
Right, bridging that gap. Making the future reward feel more immediate.
Pair the thing you need to do, but don't wanna, with something you genuinely enjoy.
Like the Twinkies while working out or only watching Netflix on the treadmill.
Yeah. It makes the less fun task more appealing to your now brain. He suggests making actual lists, your guilty pleasures, and the things you need to do. Find pairings.
Practical.
Hey.
I like it. What else for smashing procrastination?
The power of small, easy increments.
Breaking it down.
Like really breaking it down into ridiculously tiny steps. So small that starting feels almost effortless.
Lowering that barrier to entry, overcoming the inertia.
Yeah. He even suggests doing like 95% of a task just to make restarting it later feel way less daunting.
That's interesting. And starting with the absolute easiest parts first.
Build momentum. Get a quick win. That can fuel you to tackle the harder bits.
Okay, small steps, easy starts. Anything else?
He mentions considering risks and having some productive paranoia, like Bill Gates worrying about what could go wrong.
Using potential negative outcomes as motivation.
Yeah. It's not the happiest motivator, maybe, but fear of failure or negative consequences can definitely push you to act. Just got to use it constructively, not let it paralyze you.
So temptation bundling, tiny steps, maybe a dash of healthy fear, solid tools against procrastination.
Definitely feels more manageable when you put it like that. Okay, Chapter 6 focuses on our environment, creating a no distraction zone.
Setting ourselves up for success physically.
Yeah, because distractions absolutely kill self-discipline. He mentions that Baba Shiv study, something about chocolate cake.
Yeah, where even just resisting the temptation of cake nearby drained people's cognitive resources for other tasks.
Wow. So distractions literally make us weaker mentally.
Seems like it. They deplete that finite willpower. And he talks about the out of sight, out of mind principle, too.
Like those Hershey's Kisses studies, where just having them visible made people eat more.
Exactly. Proximity and visibility matter.
Yeah.
So, simple step. Declutter your workspace. Remove visual temptations. it actually works.
Makes sense. He also talks about default actions.
Defaults, like how we tend to stick with the easiest option.
Yeah, we can use that, make the good choices the default, the easiest path.
Like moving social media apps off your phone's home screen, or auto-logging out of distracting sites.
Exactly. Design your environment to nudge you in the right direction. Conserve that willpower.
Smart. Then there's attention residue.
Right, Sophie Leroy's research. How switching tasks quickly isn't much better than multitasking.
Because your brain doesn't fully switch. Part of it is still thinking about the last thing.
Yeah, that residue hinders your focus on the new task, which is why he advocates for single tasking.
One thing at a time. Deep focus.
And batching similar tasks, like do all your email at once, or check social media in scheduled blocks, not constantly throughout the day.
Minimize the switching cost. Improve efficiency.
He also suggests a don't-do list, not just a to-do list.
Things to actively avoid.
Yeah. Identify your specific time wasters, like don't check social media during work blocks, or don't keep tweaking something that's already 90% done, or don't work on tasks blocked by others.
Being intentional about what not to spend energy on, that's powerful.
And he throws in the 40-70 rule for decision-making.
40-70.
Act when you have about 40% of the info you think you need, but definitely act by the time you have 70%. Don't wait for 100% and get stuck in analysis paralysis.
A guideline to push you towards action. Avoid endless research.
Right. And finally, kind of counterintuitively, the importance of doing nothing.
Doing nothing, like actual downtime.
Yeah. Mental recovery, creativity boost, resisting the urge to grab your phone the second you have a free moment. Just let your mind wander. Daydream.
Allows your brain to rest, recharge, make connections. Alpha waves and all that.
It feels weird in our always-on culture, but sounds like it actually helps follow through in the long run.
Making space for nothing to be more effective when you doing... All right, Chapter 7 warns us about deadly pitfalls. Common mistakes that wreck our follow-through.
Good to know what not to do. What are they?
First is false hope syndrome. Getting unrealistically optimistic about how easy or fast things will be.
Like Michael's consulting business projections in the book, way too rosy.
Exactly. Then, when reality hits, the disappointment is crushing, kills motivation. Setting realistic expectations is key.
Goals versus expectations. Important difference.
Then there's overthinking.
Analysis paralysis again.
Yeah. It feels like progress because you're thinking hard, but you're just spinning your wheels, not acting. Like Barry Schwartz's paradox of choice, too many options makes deciding harder.
So limit choices maybe. Focus on essential criteria. Prioritize action over endless thinking. Definitely. Another pitfall. Worry. Just ruminating on problems, real or imagined.
Drains energy, focuses on the uncontrollable.
Right. Steals your focus from the present, from what you can actually do. Need to shift to an action-oriented mindset.
Focus on solutions, not just problems.
And the last pitfall. Not knowing thyself.
Not understanding your own productivity patterns, best work times, best environment.
Exactly. Or not knowing your specific triggers for not following through. You need self-diagnosis to find the root causes of your struggles.
Work with your nature, not constantly against it. Understand what trips you up specifically.
So avoiding false hope, overthinking, worry, and gaining self-awareness. Crucial for staying on track.
Clears the path significantly.
Okay, last chapter. Chapter 8. Daily systems for success. This contrasts relying on willpower with building reliable routines.
Systems overhear effort.
Yeah. Willpower is exhaustible. Systems automate good habits, make success easier, more consistent, less effort needed day to day.
Like Ned, the freelancer who burned out relying only on willpower.
Exactly. Systems provide structure, predictability, accountability.
Yeah.
They carry you through when motivation dips.
So what kind of systems does he recommend?
First, keep a scoreboard. Track your progress. Use checklists. Celebrate small wins. Have ultimate rewards defined.
Makes progress visible, reinforces good behavior, keeps motivation up.
Next, time management systems. Set routines. Assess time needs realistically. Review tasks daily. Minimize distractions like scheduling email checks.
Being structured and intentional with your time and energy.
Then, lower your transaction costs. Make good habits easier to do, bad habits harder.
Like organizing your workspace so media tools are handy. Or making it physically inconvenient to get that snap you're avoiding. Precisely. Manipulate the effort involved to nudge yourself towards better choices. Clever. What else?
Gather all information first. Do the research, get the resources before starting the main work.
Avoids breaking momentum later to find stuff.
Right. He mentions Carrie Patterson's ideas here. Assign responsibility, define outcomes, set deadlines, have follow-up plans, get physical resources ready. Identify obstacles all up front.
Proactive planning to minimize friction during execution. Could have helped Ned a lot.
Definitely. So these systems, tracking progress, managing time,
Right.
lowering costs for good habits, prepping info, they build a supportive structure.
Making it easier to just do the work consistently. Less drama, more routine.
Exactly. It's a shift from relying on unpredictable motivation to building reliable
Makes
habits.
total sense.
So wrapping it all up,
Mhm.
finishing what you start, it's not magic. It's not just something some people have. It's a skill.
A skill you can learn and improve.
Yeah, by
I-
understanding yourself, seeing the pitfalls, and then actually using these kinds of strategies we've talked about.
Knowing your why, breaking things down, managing distractions, building those systems.
It's about being intentional, being proactive against our own tendencies to take the easy way out sometimes.
Counteracting that pull towards immediate comfort over long-term goals.
So here's something to think about. Consider that one small thing you've been meaning to do. That habit, that project stalled out.
Mm-hmm.
Which one insight from all this could you apply, like today? What's one tiny step you could take right now, seriously, no matter how small, just to get the ball rolling again?
And maybe think, too, about the difference in your own life between just setting goals and actually building the systems to reach them. Where could a daily routine, instead of just a distant target, make the biggest difference for you right now?